You present a wrong impression. Yeah? By the time I finish you guys, teaching you guys, you improve. I wish I was recording so that you see how you're going to transform. So don't start with an right? Yes. Linda.
Linda Unambuya. I was at Mubas. I'm from Blantyre.
You're from Blantyre?
Yeah.
You are Mubas.
I was schooling at Mubas.
What is that?
Polytechnic.
Polytechnic. Good. What were you studying?
Business administration.
Okay, great. Yes, Ivy.
I was I was schooling at
Where? Lilongwe. Chiteze. Good. All right. Yes, Mona.
I'm Mona Fungano. I did my secondary at St. Louis.
St. Louis. Okay, good. Precious.
I was studying at View Secondary School.
Good. Yes, Gertrude.
I'm Gertrude Tilawe. I did my secondary school at Nigeria University
Michiru. Who else did our studies at Chirati? No, okay. Are you related to Jimmy Chilanga?
Yeah.
No, okay. Yes, Tulinde, smile.
I was studying University and I'm from Blantyre.
But your friends were standing up when speaking, yeah? Were you studying? Chichiri. Great, thanks. Yes, Lorraine.
I was reading at Misaki.
Chisabi. Okay, good. Peña.
I was schooling at some private seminary school. I'm from Lido.
Good. Yes, sir, Mr. Patrick. Patrick.
I was schooling in Pandina.
Good. Takuzwa, Shamari.
My name is Takuzwa Nakujira. I was schooling at Prince Edward School in Zimbabwe.
In Zimbabwe. Where in Zimbabwe?
Harare.
Harare, okay. Great. Okay, so my name is Wali Dan. I'm a professor of international law. I'm also a lawyer by training. I've schooled to so many universities. I also teach at several universities. So I'm one of the founders of this university. That's why I thought I should come and grill you guys so that you become the best that you want. All right? What else do you want to know about me? I told you, I'm Kuwari. I'm a professor of international law. My first name is Dan. I started at Chancellor College. I went to after Chancellor College where I did my bachelor's. Okay, I first started schooling at Data Secondary School. Then I went to Polytechnic to study architecture. And then architecture was boring for me, so I went to do law at Chancellor College. After Chancellor College, I went to University of Lund in Sweden where I did my master's in international law. I also did my PhD. You know what a PhD is? I also did a PhD there. But I've been to Oxford University, I've been to Harvard University. Now I'm also a professor at University of Pretoria and MUST, you know MUST? In Blantyre and several other universities. You come to know me better. Any other question? No. So what I want to tell you about for the next, I think it's going to be 60 hours, we'll be talking about business law. I had sent a write-up just for you to understand what we'll be talking about. Did you have a look at that write-up? The write-up that I've just sent my friend Patrick. Did you look at it? Are we also doing online?
It's
It's one?
Victor. It's the one who wrote it. Like, they're saying you're doing a recording.
Okay, all right, okay. So yes, I want to talk to you about business law. And I'm saying I gave a write-up to the dean for him to share with you. Did he do that? He did? But use the one that I've just sent Patrick. Use the one that I've just sent Patrick. So you guys, we've already started. I'll come to know you later. In my class, please try to be early. You understand? Try to be early. I believe in discipline. If you want to be employed in future, you gotta be disciplined. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Next time if you come after 15 minutes from start, you rather stay out. Clear? I like seriousness because I'm a serious person. Okay, so I sent a document outlining what business law is. Did you have a look at it? So next time, when I send a document and reading materials, I would expect you to read. Because my class is engagement. I believe in engagement. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Trying to impart knowledge to you, but also for you to learn. Now, if you're learning, you have to show me that you understand. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've also sent the syllabus for this course. The reason why I sent the syllabus is for you to know what we're going to be learning in business law, so that you prepare in advance. In that syllabus, you'll see that one of the key grading criteria would be continuous assessment. So the way you participate in class will also will contribute to your grades. Yeah? I believe in learning so that you learn. I don't believe in final papers, because I believe in people learning right away. Understood? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Don't be afraid. I want you to be free. It's an academic environment, so you need to be free. Okay? I also want you to be posing questions, because my idea is not for me just to be speaking. The idea is for you to understand. Right? So why do we want to learn business law? We're not training you to be lawyers. We're training you to be able to articulate the basic principles of doing business in Malawi and beyond. Okay? So we want you to understand the basic concepts of how businesses are run. So when you talk about business law, sometimes, say for example, at the University of Malawi, where I did my bachelor's, we used to call it commercial law. So commercial law was taught, I think, in third year, but we also learned company law. So company law, commercial law, they form part of business law. Others would call it mercantile law. Same is business law. So business law is the law that relates to how, why businesses are run. How do you open a business? What do you need to open a business? What is a partnership? What is a company? We also talk about employment law. So employment law, if you recruit a manager, what sort of relationship do you have? How many hours is going to work? How do you determine his pay or her pay? So all those issues are encompassed in what we call business law. Do you have an idea of what business law is? For now? So if you talk about a partnership, you have ever heard of a partnership? Partnership, myself and Mona, we get into a partnership to form a business of supplying goods. That would be a partnership, right? That would be a partnership. So a partnership is a relationship between two or more people to do a business enterprise. We also talk about labor relations. So, for example, the the employees, your teachers here, are employed by the university. So they've entered into a contract with the university. So they get paid for doing what they do. So a contract is also part of business law. So in this course, you also learn what a contract is and how does a contract become binding? By binding, I mean enforceable. Are we clear? Are we clear? You should be saying yes, not just shake your head. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. Let me just know your name so that we engage.
Jean Hunga. Jean
Jin. Jin who?
Hunga.
Hunga. Yes? Yes, sir?
Innocent Chimpamba.
Innocent Chimpamba. Yes? Salon? Kisomo. Kisomo who? Banda.
Edwin Makoyo.
Yes, okay. Right. So, Jean, where were you before you came to University of Lilongwe? Stand up and tell us a little bit about yourself. In not more than a minute. Don't start your statement with an arm. Okay, so the reason why you start your speaking with an arm, it means you open your mouth without engaging your brain. So it doesn't, as public speakers, you don't start with an arm. Have you done debate in secondary school? So if you do debate, first, the reason why people say well is because they want to eliminate the yeah, so.
Okay. My name is Jean Hunga. I'm starting entrepreneurship. I was here before. Yeah, so just continue.
Okay, in which year are you?
I'm in year 2.
Year 2, okay, good. Thanks. Yes, Innocent?
Okay, my name is Vincent Chipaman, and I'm studying Proponent. This is my first time.
Where were you before you came here?
I was learning at Emmanuel Private Secondary School.
Where is that? Where is that? Where is Emmanuel?
Brent actually.
Okay, Chisomo, thanks. Good. All right. Yes, Edwin.
Yeah, I'm Edwin Makoyo.
Edwin.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Edwin Makoyo.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I'm studying procurement as a branch management.
Mm-hmm.
Before I was at Glorious Private Secondary School. Somewhere in Tanzania, but I'm from Blantyre.
Goliath or
Glorious.
Goliath?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, great. No, thanks. So all laws that pertain to how, what, and why of how businesses are legally allowed to and supposed to function are encompassed in what we call business law. So business law tells you about the operations, the startup operations, and even winding up of businesses. Like I said, I think for those of you who just joined us, business law is also called commercial law. Others call it mercantile law. Indeed, others call it company law. So you may find a book that talks about company law, but that forms part of a business law. So it is a body of rules, whether by convention, agreement, or national legislation governing the dealings between persons in the commercial space, in commercial matters. So the reason why we want to provide this course to you is for you to be able to know how to open a business, how to run a business, and how to close a business. By closing, I mean winding up. You may have heard of a company. So a company is divided into two. You have a limited liability company, and you have a company that is not limited. So if you have a limited liability company, it means you've created a separate entity. So for example, Patrick opens up a company. You form a company. The language is to form a company. So if you form a company, say you call it Nyakadia. No, that's Takuzwa. Eh? You call it Mkwi. Patrick who? Mkanga. So you call it Mkanga Trading Limited. If you have registered that company as a limited liability company, it means it's a separate legal entity from yourself. So that's a limited liability company. Every time you see Stagecoach Company Limited or Sunbelt Company Limited, it means that is a legal entity on its own. That's a separate legal entity. Meaning you can sue it or it can sue on its own. So in law we call that a legal personality. Legal personality. So it's separate from the individuals who form it. Are we together? Are you following?
Yes.
Okay. So why do we want to learn business law? You know, we deal with issues relating to business almost every day. Like I said, business law encompasses commercial transactions, sale of goods. So let's say, for example, you bought a pair of shoes in barter. That pair of shoes gets damaged after 3 days. What do you do? What do you do if that pair of shoes gets damaged before the required or reasonable period of time? Louder? What if they say you can't return? Do what? Speak with confidence. You get amended. But then as a consumer, now you are a consumer. So this law now relates to what we call sale of goods. Yes, sale of goods. So when you buy a commodity, you are supposed to be given a warranty, right? So you need to know that, okay, I'm buying this pair of shoes. It's supposed to last for, say, 3 years. But if it doesn't even last 3 years, you just use it for 2 days, it's gone. That means it had a factory defect. So as a consumer, you have remedies. You can return because that's a breach of warranty. You can get back your money because you bought a shoe that was not suitable. Because a shoe cannot just last 2-3 days. Yeah. So all those issues are dealt with in what we call business law. And this particular aspect I've just talked about relates to commercial law and particularly sale of goods. We do have, I think I'll bring you the chart of laws of Malawi next time. We do have a chart. So the sale of goods is governed by what we call the Sale of Goods Act. I'll talk about, I'm just giving you an overview, so don't get scared, don't get disappointed if you are not able to follow at this moment. But by the time we finish this class, you should be able to understand everything that we'll be talking about. So that's the first example. Second example is, let's say you are on a bus or Malawian Airlines, an aircraft. God forbid that aircraft is involved in an accident, who do you sue? You know what it means to sue? You know what it means to sue? Lauren?
Yes.
You know what it means to sue? Yeah, what is it? To sue is to take somebody to court, yeah? I'll talk about these issues later. So you sue. Who do you sue now? Do you sue the pilot?
No.
No.
Good. Who do you sue? Hands up. Hands up. Gertrude? Who do you sue? Remember, don't start with an R. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We're learning, yeah? Yeah, who do you sue?
The engineers.
Good one. Yeah, good try. Yes, Takudzwa.
The Malawian Airways,
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Why do you sue Malawian Airlines?
because it's not the fault of the pilot,
Mm-hmm.
and because the pilot is not the one who owns the plane. So
Ownership.
You sue, yeah, so you sue the airways, because they're the one who owns the planes.
Uh-huh. So Malawian Airways Limited is a separate legal entity. Are you following? But what if the pilot was sleeping? Is it the fault of Malawian Airlines?
No, it's not.
Uh-huh. It's not.
It's the fault of the pilot, but I think just looking to the Malawian Airways.
In that case, it's better to sue both the pilot and also Malawian Airlines. Yeah, because in the first place, Malawian Airlines, they're the ones who brought the pilot on the plane. Yeah, so what we're trying to say is that, we're looking at legal personalities, that a company, you sue it on its own because it's a limited liability company. So that aspect is involved in, so, yeah, it's a tort. It's a tort. I'll talk about torts at some point. The aim of putting a business and law together, why do we have to talk about law in a situation where people have been employed? Innocent? You're innocent, right? Who is innocent? Yes. Why do we have to involve law where you have employed somebody?
That creates body. If the one who employed are following the laws,
Mm-hmm. To maintain safe and functional workplace, yeah? To avoid chaos,
Yeah.
so that everyone knows their responsibilities. Okay? Patrick, please share that. Do you have a WhatsApp group?
Not for this class, but online. I'll create one.
Mm-hmm. For now, I think you can get his number. He can get Jean's number and try to share it. Otherwise, you forget.
I shared it in everyone's team.
On
Everyone's team.
on what? You have a portal.
No, everyone's like inbox.
Okay. Do you have a copy of what Patrick has shared?
You know, I don't have it.
Mm-hmm. So you see that business law touches everyday lives through every contractual dealings undertaken. We talked about a contract. So a contract is a legally binding document made by two or more persons, and it is enforceable by courts. So a contract may be oral or written. And to be binding, there are several things that must exist. So what I'm saying that you can write a contract, me and Gertrude write a contract to say if you're buying a car from me, we can write that contract. But also we can just agree without writing a contract. But for it to be a contract which can be enforceable, you need to make an offer. So what would be an offer? Either I want to sell you a motor vehicle. That is an offer, right? What do you do after I offer you a motor vehicle if you want to buy that vehicle? Either I want to sell you a motor vehicle, what do? You accept the offer, right? You accept the offer. So for a contract to be there, you need an offer, you need acceptance. But that's not enough. After you accept the contract, you also need to, you need that kind of agreement to create a binding, to create a binding legal relations. So to say, now you say, okay, I'm selling you a vehicle. Yes, I'm accepting to buy a vehicle. So you say, okay, what should we do? You need to pay me money. Yeah? So if I pay you money, that means now we have paid you the consideration. What do you call consideration? I'm actually binding you to give me that vehicle. Agree? So we need a consideration. And also, you need genuine consent. So genuine consent is that I don't have to force her to buy the vehicle. She needs to willfully intend to buy the vehicle. If I force her to buy the vehicle, whether you like it or not, you're going to buy my vehicle. That means I'm setting her under duress. So that contract cannot be binding. And the terms of the contract must be legal, certain, and possible of performance. So that's a contract. So a contract also is part, or talking about contracts, that's part of business law, that's part of commercial law, that's part of mercantile law. So there are various forms of business relations. There are various forms of business relations. We've talked about contracts, we've talked about companies, we've talked about multinational companies such as Coca-Cola or Castel. Castel is a multinational company, right? But we also know, say for example, where we live in Area 49, you see that people have, they have businesses. They have a shop where they sell, say, tires, they sell electrical appliances, So those are either partnerships or sole traders. Sole traders, it means you're just an individual and you are trading by yourself and you haven't created a legal personality on its own. Are we together? Okay, so let me just do an assessment to see whether you are understanding what I've been talking about. Yes, ma'am, what's your name?
Patience.
Patience who?
Mara.
Male or Male?
Mara.
Male. Okay, good. So, what is business law? Linda Kunambula. Business law? Where is Linda? Yes, Linda.
It is a body of rules.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear the last part, so I wanted you to find something.
Well done. So it's a body of law that governs how, why, and how businesses are run, managed, and wound up. What is another name for business law? Innocent No, Innocent, you've already spoken.
Commercial.
Chisomo, what's another name for business law? Chisomo? Commercial law, yeah. Another name? Tulinde? Another name? Okay, who can support Tulinde? Yes, Yakosa, Ngulue. Corporate law? Yes, yeah, corporate law is good, yeah, well done. Yes, Lorraine? Mpenya, yes. Mpenya na moyo. Mercantile law. Good. Why do we have to study business law? Why do we have to study business law? Ivan. Ivan, why do we have to study business law?
I didn't get it.
Yes, is that Linda? Yeah?
Well, it helps people to know how to open up a business.
Well done. Excellent. What's the other reason?
It helps to afford
In the company. All right. Excellent. To create order. Okay. So let's look at the types of business law. There are so many types of business law, but I'll just give you an overview. So we have contract law. Now before I even start doing this, let me go back to the questions. Okay, we have contract law as one part of business law. You remember what are the elements for there to be a binding contract? What are the elements for a binding contract? Takudzwa.
Consent.
Consent, yes. But now, I have seen that you are systematic. So try to be systematic. Before you get to consent, there was something that I emphasized. Try to be systematic. Before consent, what should be there? It starts with an O.
Over.
Good. But now, next time, raise up your hands, yeah? Because my grading, like I told you, contribution in class will also contribute to your grading. So if you just say offer, I wouldn't know what you're saying, okay? So if you want to score more points, raise up your hand and respond. Offer, yes, good. Once an offer has been made, what do you expect? Precious, after an offer has been made. That's why we're whispering. After an offer has been made, what do you expect? Yakosa. Ive.
Accept.
Yeah, you accept, yeah? Okay, good. Next, Mona.
Agreement.
Say again?
Agreement.
Yeah, so a contract is an agreement. Contract is an agreement, that's good, yeah? So let's say consent, yeah? Consent. What sort of consent? Should it be under undue influence? Should it be under pressure? Gertrude? How should the consent be?
Should agree or to consider the offer.
Yeah, the consent should be free, yeah? Should be genuine consent. It shouldn't be forced, okay? Good, I'm glad you're able to follow. So we talked about a contract. A contract is an agreement that creates a legal obligation between two or more parties that enter into it. So if I have a contract between myself and Patience, we have a contract. Is it binding on Patrick? Common sense? Louder.
No.
Speak with confidence. Is it binding on you?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm not comfortable, I think.
You're not party to the agreement. Well done. Well done. Are you clear there? Yeah. So because you're not party to the contract, so you cannot be party. You cannot be. Yeah. You cannot be privy to the contract. The word is privy. You're not party to it. You're not privy to the contract. Now, what the next type of business law is employment law. So employment law is where it is imperative for business and law to meet. These laws enforce the rules and regulations that govern an employee and employer relationship. So they cover when, how, and for how much, and for how long an employee should work. So in short, employment law governs employee and employer relationship. Who is an employee? Who is an employee? Mpenya? Who is an employee?
Someone who gives it to someone.
Who is what?
Someone who gives it to someone.
Good. No. The other way around, yeah? I'm saying employee.
Employee or
Patience, who is an employer?
An employer is somebody who employs people.
Somebody who employs people. And employee, Mpenya?
Somebody
Mpenya?
someone who has been employed.
By the employer. Okay, good. So a member of staff is an example of an employee, right? The owner of a business is an example of an employer. So employment law governs the relationship between these two. Now we also have labor law. So labor law also indicates a relationship between the employee and the employer, including the pay grades. However, an additional element to labor laws is the relationship of the union with the employer and the employee. So when you talk about labor union, or the union, I'm head of the Teachers Union of Malawi. So those issues are governed by labor law. Employment law and labor law are similar, but employment law governs the relationship, whereas between the employer and employee, including pay, whereas labor law is a bit broader. It governs the relationship with employee-employer as well as the union and other aspects, rights of an employee and those kind of things. Then the other type of business law is what we call intellectual property law. Intellectual property law. So intellectual property refers to the intangible products of the working of human mind or intellect. So if, for example, Mona designs a sneaker, for others not to copy that sneaker, she needs to patent it. You need to have a copyright. Yeah, so that the sneaker is yours. The design of that sneaker is yours. So if you, why is Samsung not able to copy iPhone? Because iPhone has patented the design of the iPhone and also the products in there. If they want to copy, then they will be breaching intellectual property rights. Are you following?
Yes.
Why does Patience Namadingo not copy Lawi's songs? Because I'm assuming they know they have the copyright. So they say, this is my intellectual creation, no one else should copy. So that's intellectual property. Are we together? So that's also part of business law. Then we have what we call securities law. So securities law refer to assets such as shares in the stock market and other sources of capital growth and accumulation. Have you ever heard of Malawi Stock Exchange? Or have you heard of your parents or your guardians talking about buying shares in Airtel, buying shares in Ilovo? Ever heard of that?
Yes.
So the law that governs that kind of business is securities law. And securities law prohibits what we call inside trading. So for example, if I'm an employee of Airtel and I know that the shares of Airtel will go high, if I disclose to Patrick, that means and for Patrick to be able to buy the shares, that means I'm committing an offense of inside trading, which is prohibited. Clear? So that's securities law. The other type is called taxation law. So all of us pay taxes. Ever heard of VAT, value added tax? So the law that governs VAT is taxation law, or pay as you earn. For those of you who work, you are deducted tax. That is called pay as you earn. Right. So what is a contract? What is a contract? Gertrude, what is a contract?
Legal agreement.
Okay, what constitutes a contract? Precious, what constitutes a contract? Yeah. What are the elements of a contract? Patience.
Sale of goods contracts.
That's just an example. Benya. Linda. Offer. Offer, acceptance, consent, consideration, those are the aspects of the contract, right? Good. So, how if somebody asks you, what's the difference between labor law and employment law? Okay, first, before we go back there, what do you understand by employment law? Employment law, Chisomo.
Employment law.
Linda.
They enforce the government, the laws of the employees and the employer.
Good. What about labor laws? Miss Smile.
It governs the employee and employer relation.
Good. What about securities law? Securities law, Jim?
It prohibits inside trading.
Good, but what is it?
It's illegal.
Securities law deals with shares, assets, and capital markets. So securities law is also called capital markets law. Capital markets law. What about intellectual property? Lorraine. Intellectual property. Lorraine? No. You should be able to get this. I talked about this. Edwin, intellectual property?
It governs the instructions for the employer and employer and labor.
Intellectual property law. You remember I was giving Chisomo. You remember I was giving examples of Patience Namadingo, Lawi, and those kind of things? Intellectual property. What is intellectual property law? Patrick?
It protects your brand from being copied.
Good. Yeah. Protects intellectual creativity. So that's an example. So copyright laws fall under intellectual property. Patents fall under intellectual property. Now let's talk about sources of law in Malawi. Sources of law in Malawi. Any question this far? What I've noted, you guys, every time I ask you a question or I pose a question, you say, I wanted you to finish first, so I'm giving you an opportunity to pose questions.
Repeat the definition of business law and the definition of intellectual property.
Okay. So business law, we said there is a law that governs business organizations or commercial transactions. So it relates to how businesses are run, how businesses are opened, and how businesses are wound up. Winding up a business, it means to close a business. You know what I mean by closing a business, yeah? Terminating a business. So that's business law. Mercantile law, commercial law, company law also refers to business law. And the types of business law I've just given you, yeah? Some of them. Intellectual property law, you also asked intellectual property law is a law that protects intellectual creativity. So for example, copyright law, patent law, and those kind of issues. Good. So we want to talk about sources of law in Malawi. So number one is the Constitution of the Republic of Malawi. So the Constitution of the Republic of Malawi is the supreme law of the land, meaning it's the number one law in Malawi. The Constitution of the Republic of Malawi. Next time I come, I'll bring you the copy of the Constitution. Are we together? Number two, Acts of Parliament. So Acts of Parliament are also known as legislation or statutes. So an individual copy, the law that relates to sale of goods is called a statute. The law that governs road traffic offenses is called the Road Traffic Act. It's a statute. Acts of Parliament, also known as legislation or acts or statutes. So legislation is made by Parliament, or acts of Parliament are made by Parliament. Individual laws are called statutes or acts of Parliament. Of course, ministers, mayors also have the power to make what we call subordinate or subsidiary legislation, also known as delegated legislation. For example, bylaws of the city of Lilongwe, those are by statutory regulations. Local government also makes bylaws. Legislation does not come into force unless published in the Gazette. The third source of law is what we call common law or case law. Case law is also called judge-made laws. So you heard about judges giving out judgments or decisions. So that is part of common law or case law. So common law, listen carefully. Common law consists of various unwritten general principles of law. These were followed in England, but we've adopted them in Malawi because we were a colony of the United Kingdom. This one? But next time come during break or after class. Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that okay? What should I do here? It's for myself
Yeah, and the students.
and the students? Okay.
They like their names all day.
Okay, every day.
Yeah, every day. When you come.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so common law consists of various unwritten general principles of law used and consistently followed in England. But now we have adopted them in Malawi because Malawi was a British colony. So the English law applies in Malawi unless it is inconsistent with the constitution or an act of parliament. What is key in judge-made laws or common law is what we call precedent, the doctrine of precedent. So doctrine of precedent, you understand the term precedent, right? Precedent?
No.
So this gentleman came here. He said, if I didn't tell him not to come to interfere with the class, he could have set a precedent of coming anytime. Set a precedent. You understand? Huh? You don't understand? Precedent. An example that has to be followed. Precedent. Clear?
Yes.
If I didn't tell you not to eat gum or not to chew gum in class or lollipop in class, I could have set a precedent that you can chew gum in class. Is it making sense? So precedent. So what precedent means in law is that if a judge gives a judgment, say somebody who commits a road traffic offense, overspeeding should be fined 60,000 kwacha. So that means that's a precedent. The other courts are supposed to follow that precedent. So you commit this offense, 60,000. This 60,000. Jane, may you just sit upright, please? Are we together? Okay. So judge-made laws. Key to understand there is what we call precedent, or also known as stare decisis. So if you learning law, you come across a lot of Latin words. Stare decisis. Stare decisis. Chisom, I'm not saying stare decisis, yeah? I'm saying stare decisis. Ngulu, you understand? I don't want to hear you saying stare decisis, stare decisis. So at national level, we can also divide the law further to say public law and private law. So business law is part of private law, whereas public law, when you talk about criminal offenses, forestry legislation, those are to do with the public. Those are public laws. But business law is part of private law, the law that governs relationships between individuals. Okay, quick exercise. Quick exercise. Mona Singama. Where is Mona?
Here.
Yes, Mona. What are the 3 sources of law in Malawi? Name one. Don't start with an R.
Constitution.
The Constitution of the Republic of Malawi. Good. Linda. No, Linda is spoken a couple of times. Ivy Solomon. Judge-made laws or common law. Well done. Innocent Chimpambana.
Acts of Parliament.
Acts of Parliament. Good. Patience, what's the other name of Acts of Parliament? Jean, another name for Acts of Parliament? Mpenya, another name for Acts of Parliament? Legislation. Good. Good. Tulinde, another name for Acts of Parliament? Acts of Parliament legislation or statutes. Yeah, good. In judgment laws, what is the principle that you see in judgment laws? The principle where one judge makes a decision and the other judges who are not higher than him or same level can follow. What is it called? Patrick?
State decisis.
Stare decisis. What is the other name for stare decisis? Takuzwa Shamari. Precedent, doctrine of precedent. Are we following? Okay. Do you want to take a quick break? Do you guys break?
No, we don't.
You don't? It's 2 hours non-stop. Good. So, when we talk about contracts, they are governed by common law. Contracts are governed by common law. You don't really have a statute that deals with contracts. So judgment laws, common law judgment laws, govern contracts. And we all know what a contract is supposed to be, yeah? Okay. Then if you buy property, buy goods, we have what we call the Sale of Goods Act that governs the sale of goods in Malawi, and it's chapter 4801. It's unfortunate I didn't bring, I think maybe we should have it in the library, the chart that outlines the laws of Malawi. So the Sale of Goods Act, and in the assignment that I'll give you, I would expect you now to go look for these statutes. I would expect each one of you to at least outline what you've read in that particular Act of Parliament. Clear? Yeah, so partnerships, if you want a partnership, I talked about a partnership, right? What is a partnership? Precious, what is a partnership?
It is the relationship between two legal parties.
Good. Good, well done. And it's governed by the Partnership Act. Partnership Act is in chapter 4601. Then we'll talk about companies. I think one of the subjects that you enjoy will be talking about companies. So a company is it can be limited liability company or it can be unlimited liability company. So if you have created a limited liability company, it means you've created a separate legal entity. So separate legal entity from the individuals who have created it. Like this University of Lilongwe is under Bambino Corporation. So the company that owns Bambino Corporation, that owns Lilongwe University is the Bambino Corporation. So if somebody wants to sue us, they don't sue Lilongwe University. They sue Bambino Corporation. And in the Bambino Corporation, you have the shareholders, the ones who take out money and put it on the table to have these buildings. So those are shareholders. And the shareholders appoint what we call directors. So directors are the ones who run the company. So we'll learn about all those kind of things. Now, the book that I want you to look at is a book called by Chirumha Kasim, which talks about unfair dismissal. This book talks about labor laws. And then there is a book by Chirumha also talking about labor laws. There is a book by my friend Mohamed Alan. He's a judge of the High Court. I sent you an e-copy of the book, a soft copy of the book. Did you receive it?
Yes.
You received it? Who said yes?
I don't know, one of this sent me a video.
A video?
A video.
A PDF, yes.
No, that's not the one. You got it just now. Today.
Okay, what I'll do is that I'll send Patrick the books again so that you distribute your files. Yeah, so a book by Alan Home on company law and also labor law, and even the one by Chirumba was also sent. I sent it to the dean. He was supposed to put them on the report. I don't know how they distribute. Then there is also a book by Ronald Pitfield called Company Law Made Simple. You can also look at that. Or another book by Sibel Banda, which talks about unfair labor practices. So these are the books that will be followed in this course. But time and again, I also give you articles, and depending on how you grasp, I also give you judgments of the court so that you're able to follow. You heard about the case of Alliance Capital, this company in Atlanta which ate money for people. You heard about it? It was in the news. We'll discuss that case one of these days. And I think last week there was mention of a case that Bishop's mama lost a case in court with the Lovo Sugar. So we'll also look at that case for you just to appreciate business law, because you're studying business law, so you need to know these things. Any questions this far before I fire questions? Any questions? Edwin, you have a question? No? Good. Jim, you have a question?
No, but I on government, yes, you were talking about the conflict of virus and written general principles of law, which one used in, I don't know.
In England. In England. But now they've been adopted in Malawi, because Malawi is a former colony of the United Kingdom. Okay. And yes, sir.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Christopher.
Christopher who?
Musician.
Yes, Mr. Msisha.
What is industrial law? Industrial law.
So industrial law or industrial related, it depends on what you're talking about. If you say in industry law, it can either be employment law, but it can also be law relating to manufacturing. So it depends in the context. But if you talk about industrial relations law, then we're talking about the combination of employment law and labor laws. If you want me to tell you what employment law is, I would say Ngulue can actually define employment law. Yes, Ms. Ngulue, define employment law to Christopher, while Ms. Smile will define labor law to Christopher. The law that governs the relationship between
Employee and employer.
You remember one example was given by Pena and the other one was given by Patience. Yeah? Understood, Mr. Christopher? Good. Any questions? What are the sources of law in Malawi? I need hands up now. Chisomo, what are the sources of law in Malawi?
Acts of Parliament.
Yes. Gertrude. What's another name for acts of parliament? Huh? Legislation. Good. Takudzwa. What's, apart from Acts of Parliament, legislation, what's the other name?
For Acts of Parliament,
Mhm.
statutes.
Statutes, good. So that's one source of law. The second source of law? Second source of law? Lorraine.
The Constitution.
Constitution of the Republic of Malawi. Good. Why do we call the Constitution as the supreme law of the land? Why do you call it the supreme law of the land? Ivy. Ivy, right? Why do you call it the supreme law of the land? Yes, Mpenya?
Because it governs the decision making of the public.
Of the public. Good. Who is Ivy? Ivy. Nguluwe? You are Nguluwe, right? And your name is Mona. Right. Mona Singano. Good. Okay, good. Well done. We've talked about one source of law. What's the other one? What's the other one? Yes, Jean?
Common law case law.
What's that?
Common law case law.
A common law or case law or judge-made law. Yeah. Judge-made law has a doctrine of precedent. What does that entail? Doctrine of precedent. What does that mean? Patrick?
It means that, as you said, when you set a rule, when you don't set a rule, people just do as they please. So
You set a precedent. You set an example. A court would set an example, a precedent, which is also called. What's the other name of doctrine of precedent? Mona? Doctrine of precedent, what's the other name? Good, Steadasis. Good. So we have the Constitution, Acts of Parliament, and judgment laws. Okay. What are the types of business laws? Christopher Musia. What are the types of business laws? Tell us one.
Corporate laws.
Good, corporate laws. Yeah. What are corporate laws? Corporate laws, same as company law, yeah? They deal with formation of companies. Okay, good. The other one? Edwin.
Security law.
Securities law. Remember, there is a huge difference between security law and securities law. So what is securities law?
It deals with shares and
such kind of assets. Good. The other example? Yes? Contract law. Yeah. What is a contract?
agreement
Between two or more parties. What is supposed to be in a contract? What are the elements of a contract? Takuzwa? Don't start with an
Sorry. In a contract law, there should be an offer. It should be considered.
Okay, that's fine. What else apart from an offer? Yes, Edwin?
exception.
Good, acceptance. Then next, patience. You didn't get a question. What did Edwin say? You're not paying attention. In my class, you need to pay attention, yeah? Because participation in class pays to me is what matters most, because it shows whether one is understanding or not, okay? To be honest with you, my class, one would fail my class even before the final exam, if they don't participate. So participation in class to me is very, very important. Okay? Because we shouldn't be result oriented, we shouldn't be exam oriented. We need to grasp the issues, we need to be able to understand. Clear? If you're my students, you go out, somebody asks you, I get embarrassed as a professor, right? So I want you to be able to understand. If you have questions, let me know. Okay? So, what was the question? Can we help our friend? Mr. Christopher Musisia. Dr. Musisia. Can you? Elements of a contract. Now you've heard the question, huh?
Yes.
What are the two elements of a contract? There are several, but I just want you to mention two. Benny is looking at me. Assist your sister.
Two of them? Or just one?
Mention even four.
Consent,
Mm.
acceptance,
But yeah, try to be systematic. Try to be systematic. Yes, Linda, try to be systematic.
offer,
Yes, louder. She needs to understand.
an offer,
Then,
acceptance.
genuine consent.
Yeah.
Then consideration. Then you need to have the intention that that agreement should be binding. Okay, and several other issues. What are the elements of a contract that you remember? Okay, if I want to sell you a vehicle, look here. If I want to sell you a vehicle, what do you call that? An offer, right? Hmm? You need to pay attention. Offer. Now, if I've offered you, what do? You accept the offer, isn't it? Now, for me to sell you the vehicle, you want to pay me money. We call that consideration. So a contract should also have a consideration. And then the offer and the acceptance should be genuine. I should not be forced, and you should not be forced to accept. So intention to be bound, and also free will, free consent, or genuine consent. Understood? The questions that I will ask you in the exam will not come from anywhere else. These are the questions. So if you fail to answer in class, I wouldn't expect you to answer during exams. So please understand, okay? And I don't want anyone to fail in my class because I try to be as clear as possible, as you may have noted, right? I try to bring everybody up to speed. So do your part, I also do my part. Okay. And another type of business law? Yes, Precious. What is intellectual property law? Patience? Jean, assist Patience. We don't study the now. The law that governs, that protects intellectual creativity. What about taxation law? Okay, so do we all have taxation law governs the payment of taxes? Yeah? For example, VAT, value-added tax, pay as you earn, and several other taxes. Okay, who's going to kill it now? What do you understand by the principle of stereothesis? Stereothesis. Tulinde, Miss Smile, principle of stereothesis. Lorraine, you're looking down. Stereothesis will be repeating this, yeah? It's principle of precedence in judgment laws or common law. Okay, so this is what I want you to do. I will tell you pay attention. I will tell you several acts of parliament or statutes or legislation, which you need to Google and find on the internet. Laws, just Google laws of Malawi, company law, for example. Laws of Malawi, Partnership Act, okay? You have these laws, you have the document that I sent you by WhatsApp, but I'll be spelling out now. I want you to choose one which you can study, and next week you stand in front and tell your friends what you understand about that law. Like, what does that law provide? In 2 or 3 sentences. Summarize that law, that this law talks about this. What is key in this law is A, B, C, D. Should be easy. The key is that if you look at the law, a specific legislation, you find that it says this act seeks to do A, B, C, D. This act seeks to govern partnerships in Malawi. It's right at the beginning of the act. Please pay attention. So you have a table of contents, and then you have these letters in bold before you look at section 1, section 2. So those ones are critical. Okay? And then look at this at the act and just tell me or tell your friends 1 or 2 points that you capture in that act. Do you think that's a very difficult task?
No.
It shouldn't be difficult, as long as you heard what I say. The essence of the act, usually in bold. This act seeks to do ABCD. Capture that and outline, okay. So Companies Act provides for the roles of directors, shareholders, and governs operations of a company. You're done. Should be simple exercise. Clear? So I'll outline the acts and choose one. I'll ask you to choose. So we have number 1, Business Licensing Act. Number 2, Business Registration Act. Number 3, Commercial Advertising Act. Number 4, Companies Act. Now, like I said, this document has been sent to Patrick. You don't have to write. Just capture whatever is. I don't know how you're going to do it. I will still try to. So I'm going to mention there are like 51 of them. So anyone can take one of the 51. Yeah? But we need to know what you're taking now. So I said Business Licensing Act, Business Registration Act, Commercial Advertising Act, Companies Act. At your level, you need to know how to use shorthand, yeah? You know shorthand? Create your own shorthand. So for example, the way I write Companies Act, I just say, that's Company Act. You see, that's my own shorthand. So I know that this is a Companies Act. Huh? Business law, I'll just say, biz. You see? So you need to create, company law. You see? I'm just giving you an example. And you just say, because otherwise if you write everything, you won't be able to finish or to be in line with what we're saying. Agree? So try to create shorthand. Competition and Fair Trading Act. So the Competition and Fair Trading Act it governs the relationship between, for example, Game, Chipiku, and ShopRite, so that you don't see Chipiku acquiring those companies, yeah, to avoid competition. So Chipiku buys Game, and so that they should have a monopoly. So the Competition and Fair Trading Act governs that. Companies Act, I told you that it governs corporations or companies. Commercial Advertising Act deals with the billboards that you see. Business Registration Act, if you want to open a business, you look at that. Business Licensing Act, to get a license if you want to open a betting company, for example. So you look at the Business Licensing Act. The Constitution of the Republic of Malawi, we talked about it, the Constitution being the supreme law of the land. Consumer Protection Act, so if you drink water that is polluted, you need to look at the Consumer Protection Act. So the reason why we also have to learn business law, and I'm telling you these laws, is not for you to become lawyers, but for you to know where to go, find the law. Are we together?
Yes.
So say for example, you have a question relating to Chipiku and Sana. Where do you go? Competition and Fair Trading Act. You get my point? If I've asked you to advise your mothers, your grandmothers to open a business, where do you go? Business Registration Act. You see? So that's the skill I want you to know. Copyright. Copyright Act deals with copyright. If Namadingo has stolen songs from Lucius Banda, go to Copyright Act. Decimal Currency Act deals with currencies. Electronic Transactions and Cybersecurity Act deals with fraud, Airtel money issues. If somebody steals money from your Airtel account, those issues. Employment Act, you know what it deals with, yeah? Relationship between employee and employer. Exchange Control Act, so if you have runs, you want to get Zim dollars, you use the Exchange Control Act. Financial Crimes Act, so if you have you are dealing with black market, you'll be charged under Financial Crimes Act. Financial Services Act, so if the Standard Bank has not given you something, you go to the Financial Services Act. Government Securities Act talks about assets and shareholding. Industrial Licensing Act deals with industries. So if you want to open a brewery, you go to the Industrial Licensing Act. Insolvency, if you want to dissolve a company, you dissolve a company to end a company, you go to the Insolvency Act. Investment Disputes Act, so if there are investment disputes, you look at this act. Investment Promotion, if you have a Tanzanian who wants to invest in Malawi, you look at this law. Labor Relations Act, if the staff members here want to form a union and you are prohibiting them to do that, they will look at the Labor Relations Act and see whether what you're doing is correct. Loans recovery, if government wants to recover loans or bank, they look at this law. Malawi Revenue Authority Act, obviously issues of tax, right? Merchandise marks, so the label that you see on Coca-Cola, if somebody else wants to make Froze look like Coca-Cola, you look at Merchandise Marks Act. Microfinance Act, so if SACCO does not want to give you money, you look at this act. National Construction Act, for the construction industry. If you want to construct a bridge and you have not constructed a bridge, they'll look at this act. Occupational Safety, Health and Welfare Act. So if we have a fire in this room, Bambino University or University of Lilongwe will be taken to task using the Occupational Safety, Health and Welfare Act. Partnership Act deals with partnerships. Patents Act, you design a sneaker, somebody steals it, you look at the Patents Act. Payment Systems Act, payment systems, Airtel money transfer. Personal Property Act, if you have personal property, say for example your house, you want to sell it, all the issues relating to that. Pensions Act, for those of us who are advanced in age, we want to retire, we look at the Pensions Act to get our pension. Property and businesses, so if somebody had an office but is closed, how do we know that he's the one? You look at Property and Businesses Act. Public Audit deals with audit. for public accounts. Public officials, declaration of assets, liability, and business interests. For those of us who work in government, we need to declare our assets, we need to declare our income. This is the act. Public-private partnership. So if a government entity wants to partner with a private entity, this is the act that governs that. Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Act. If you want to submit a bid, not a tender, we call it a bid. The process is called tendering. For government, this is what you do. Registered Designs Act. So if you have designed something, you want to register it so that somebody shouldn't steal it, this is what you follow. Reserve Bank Act deals with issues of forex and those kind of things. Sale of Goods Act, I talked about sale of goods. You buy a car. We have a principle which we call buyer be aware. So you cannot buy something and then say, no, I was buying this, I didn't know that it was. No, there is a principle, buyer be aware. You need to know what you buy. So that's why sometimes a receipt will have conditions, terms and conditions. You need to read those. Otherwise, they'll say, no. Once something has been bought, it cannot be returned. Sheriff's Act, Stamp Duties Act, Statutory Bodies, Taxation, Trademarks Act, Trustee Act, Trustee Incorporation Act, talks about trustees. Trustee or trust is also part of business law. Value added tax is also part of taxation. Then we have Workers' Compensation Act. So if your employee gets injured during work hours, they go to the Workers' Compensation Act for remedies. Good. Now, have you identified something that you can take?
Yes.
I'm giving you time.
Yeah.
So we'll go by that order, right? Do we have anyone who hasn't identified enough? Which they need to. Do we have anyone who hasn't identified enough? We have all identified, right? So just write your name and the act that you're going to. Yeah, so we start while we're writing. Jim, what are you gonna?
Business Registration Act.
Business Registration Act, yeah? Yes, Takuzwa?
Workers' Compensation Act.
Workers' Compensation Act, good. Patrick?
Business licensing.
Can you speak louder, please?
Business licensing.
Pena? Can you get that document from your colleague at the bank?
I was also on business registration, so I'm trying to figure out this.
So let me know. Yes, Lorraine? Malawi Revenue Authority Act, okay, good. Tulinde? Well done. Gertrude? Advertising. Commercial advertising, okay. Precious? Copyright Act, yes. Patience? Business registration. Okay. Yes, Christopher. Consumer Protection Act. Yes, Yakosa. Partnership. Partnership Act. Okay, good. Linda. Trustees Act. Okay, good. Remember, there is Trustees Incorporation Act and Trustees Act. Yeah. Okay. Ivy.
Labor Relations.
Good. Labor Relations Act. Good. Precious. Precious, you've already outlined, yeah? Okay. Edwin?
Companies Act.
Companies Act. You're doing Employment Act, yeah?
Companies.
Yeah, she's also doing Companies Act.
See, I'll think of something else.
Okay. You need to give us before we break. Chisomo?
There's a recurring
Good. Patience? Innocent? MRA. Lauren is also doing MRA. Financial Crimes Act. Good. Good. Yes, Patience?
She also picks the same one, so
You go for what? Microfinance Act. Okay, good. Pena?
national construction.
Good, 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 good. Okay. Innocent, you've chosen what?
Financial crime.
Financial crimes, okay. Yes, Edwin?
Trademarks.
Trademarks, okay, good. Anyone who has taken partnerships? Jean?
Registration capital.
Business registration, okay. Okay. So we all have taken something, yeah? Okay. So what I want you to do, if I'm around next Wednesday, if I'm not, I'll tell you what to do. I would have loved if I had. Who is the class president? It's you, yeah. Say again. Patrick. Who is the vice president? Yeah, because I want. Is that true?
It's fine.
Then we need to have a lady. Because you cannot have. Yeah, we need to have a lady. So that, yeah. So you should also give me your number so that in case it's not reachable, I need to send at least to both of you stuff that you can share with your friends. So in case I'm not around, if I travel over the weekend, then I'll let you know. And we'll do the exercise when I'm back, but I'll give you another exercise. So for now, before I leave, I'll forward to both of you the books. And I think at that time I'll tell you what to read in those books. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Yeah, Kenya, what's your number? Yes? 99?
11,
Uh-huh.
56,
Uh-huh.
966.
You're also in first year, right?
Yes.
Oh, you just created a group, yeah?
Yeah.
It's easier that way.
You're studying.
Hmm?
You're studying.
Kuwali. Kuwali. Okay, I've sent to the group, so make sure if you're not on the group, you should be on the group. Right, we'll catch up. Right on.